Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. This is the Hurling edition, and in this bit we're going to review the Munster Hurling Final between Limerick and Tipperary. It finished Limerick 229, Tipperary 321. This game, Luke, is an all-time classic already in my opinion. What a game.
Yeah, probably the best Munster final I've ever seen, I think. And it just had absolutely everything. It was kind of the definition of a game of two halves. And I think the Limericks performance in the second half was the most complete second half performance I've ever seen. And look, I've never seen dominance quite like that. You looked dead and buried kind of at half time. You've Shefflin and Donald kind of writing them off at half time, saying, look, Tip just need another 10 points. They're going to be safe in this one. And and then I don't think anybody saw kind of the nature of the dominance that was going to ensue until up to the next water break. Like, you look at that period in the third quarter, Limerick won that 1 goal and 10 points to 1 point. They missed nothing in that period, no wides at all, and they just absolutely ate Tipperary alive. And he'd love to be a fly on the wall for what was said at half time. And look, you have to give credit to the Limerick selectors for how they adapted kind of from the first half to that system which they evolved to. It was just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It was a real tour de force in the second half. They just flexed just how good they are. And, we've talked in length about the quality that they have in depth. The players that they brought off the bench, I thought Aaron Gillane coming on in particular, as well as Dan Morrissey, they were, that was a massive turning point. And what struck me in the second half was they started to dominate the skies. They physically just kind of overwhelmed Tipperary in the second half. Karl Hayes, he showed off like every bit of his athleticism, his strength, his powerful running for that goal. That is possibly the best goal I've ever seen from anyone. It's one of the best goals I think that the game of hurling has ever seen. When you talk about a player being able to do that, how many players in the country can actually score a goal like that? The way he just left, Michael Breen for dead, just absolutely ridiculous how, fast he was. And then to hit it into the back of the net the way he did with the hurl kind of turned over just shows the level of skill that he has. And he's become a real face of this Limerick team now. He was a youngster back when they won the All-Ireland in 2018. Obviously, since he's moved to the half-back line, his trademark runs from the half-back line. He's almost like Jack McCaffrey was in the football now. It's like a trademark that Karl Hayes will make a dash at some point during the game, and he really does get the crowd up off their feet.
Yeah, it was the most kind of extraordinary athleticism, really, and the skill levels kind of added into it as well. You can see when he's running out of touches in his hand, slapping the ball into the ground, straight back up, complete control. He did that twice in the move. The second time didn't even need to do it. So it was a remarkable kind of skill level, and it was kind of a worthy goal of Limerick's performance in that half. But like, Limerick had already taken the lead at that point. Like, that was nearly an insurance score. That was kind of to seal the game from Hayes. They'd already gone 2 points up already just from knocking over points. And I suppose the thing we have to kind of talk about is whether, like, we talked about how good Aaron Gillane was when he came on, but look, he shouldn't have been still on the pitch. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, no, that was a blatant red card from what I've seen. It was so dangerous the way he just pulled the hurl back. As well as that, I think Seamus Flanigan was lucky to still be on the pitch. I don't think it's as stonewall as the Gillane incident, but when you're talking about a Limerick side, we spoke, on a previous episode of the hurling, edition of the Play On podcast, that Limerick have kind of garnered a reputation for themselves now as, walking on very thin ice, when it comes to their discipline. And, they're only, a bit of pressure on a referee away from a big red card in a big game. And I'm surprised they didn't get it in the Munster final, to be honest, because two blatant pulls, Seamus Flanigan hurled straight into Paddy Marr's face, bent his neck back in an awful way. And then Gillane's one is just a blatant pull on Cathal Barrett, and he's very lucky to still be on the pitch.
We're discussing that kind of there, but I still think, though, even if Gillane sent off there, I still think, despite them being about 7 or 8 down at the time, I still think Limerick win that game, even with a man less. I think it was just whatever way they came out in the second half, they weren't being beaten on the day, and it was just surreal. Like, that level of self-belief and the confidence kind of, like, you see kind of how it changed. Like, we talked briefly kind of about the change in personnel. Like Richie English probably had a tough enough first half, and Dan Morrissey came on to fullback, and he absolutely anything that came near him ended up in his hands. Barry Nash started plucking them out of the sky as well. He had a huge second half too. And then you have the two fellas around the midfield, Will O'Donoghue and Darragh Donovan, getting on a world of breaking ball as well. So it was just remarkable. And we haven't even talked about Keane Lynch yet, who was my man of the match anyway. He only hit 1 point, but he was instrumental in absolutely everything. And he was I thought he really took over the game in the second half. So it was just remarkable stuff, really. And I think it's pretty formidable for the rest of the country that they just seemed nearly unbeatable at the weekend.
Yeah, and I'd compare, this Limerick team a lot to Dublin in the football, and we were talking about, with Dublin in the football, that how they stay on top is they are aware that every team in the country is going to be making plans to beat them, so they're constantly evolving. Keane Lynch being moved to centre forward when he was, one of the country's best midfielders and still is, but him moving to centre forward, the way he just orchestrates the attack. Karl Hayes then at wing back as well. That was definitely a turn up for the Bucks, and a lot of teams had to, change their lineups because of Kyle Hayes' pace at wing back. It's no longer just Diarmaid Byrnes and Declan Hannon firing over points from distance. Now you have a real runner from halfback that you have to have a pacey forward. That's why Michael Breen couldn't play in midfield for Tip.
Yeah, completely. But I think as well it's important to kind of get into the first half as well here, because Tip got it absolutely spot on the first half, and I think that's kind of the point that will go unnoticed, is that they really took advantage kind of it. And in particular, I thought they got an awful lot of joy putting Jason Ford centre half forward on Declan Hannon. And Declan Hannon's probably not the greatest man marker anyway. And that was definitely shown anyway straight away with Jason Ford hitting 6 points from play in the first half, 5 of them in the first 15 minutes. And he finished up with 7 from play, 11 in total. That was a remarkable tally, really. And I thought that the two goals as well, the O'Dwyer and Morris, both of them from long puckouts straight down the middle into the centre half back's position, breaking ball, and that kind of spine of Richie English and Declan Hannon. It looked shaky enough in the first half, and I thought Tip absolutely kind of completely took advantage of it. 216 is an incredible tally, and they did show some frailties there, but you saw how Limerick adapted in the second half, and to only concede 1-5 with that goal coming in stoppage time as well. It was just remarkable from the management team from Limerick. But it was you can't forget here that this was probably the best half performance from a Tipperary team since Liam Sheedy took over.
Did you forget how good we were? When you're talking about, John O'Dwyer scores that screamer into the top corner, you forget just the level of talent that John O'Dwyer has, and then Jason Ford is one of the most naturally gifted hurlers in the country. And he, as you've mentioned, of course, him scoring 6 points off Declan Hannon from play. But then in the second half, Limerick, just as well as that, they were getting scores. Seamus Flanigan's goal, came off a brilliant save from Barry Hogan from Aaron Gallan. Flanagan ended up with 1-3. But when Flanagan scored that goal, it really seemed like there was kind of a carnival atmosphere in the ground, and there was this unstoppable wave of momentum coming out about Limerick. They played like warriors. Peter Casey as well hit 5 points. And when Limerick's backs were really put up against the wall, we saw just how good they were. And, the best Dublin team, even on the football side, and I keep using them as the metaphor, but the best Dublin team that I've seen was the team in 2017, where Mayo put us to the pin of our collars. And then in the 2019 final, when we were 1 point down, denying us our 5 in a row. And, how many turnovers were there in those last 5 minutes before Dean Rock got the equaliser? So it's a massive test for teams when their backs are up against the wall, and it shows how great they are. And Limerick showed just how great they are at the weekend. But now, on the flip side, with Tipperary, that's the 3rd year in a row now that they've lost in Munster to Limerick. They've taken a beating, last year. And then this year as well is almost more humiliating, considering the fact that they dominated them in the first half, and the way that the whole game just changed. How do you see them now recovering?
Well, look, I think I wouldn't write them out of the All-Ireland sweepstakes just yet, but if there was a win in All-Ireland this year, they're going to have to hope that somebody else will beat Limerick for them, because I don't see them being able to overcome that kind of psychological defeat. Like, they could not have been in any better position for this, and they knew what was coming in the second half, and it became evident in the first 5 minutes that Limerick were going to throw absolutely everything at them, and they just buckled under the pressure. Tip, I thought. And yeah, look, they haven't beaten Limerick in so long now at this stage, and I just think psychologically they don't have enough to beat Limerick at the moment. And yeah, look, the chances are they're probably going to be playing with the way the qualifier draws worked out and everything. They're probably going to be playing Galway in an All-Ireland quarter-final yet again. So yeah, I would probably give them a good chance of winning that and then getting to an All-Ireland semi-final. But yeah, I think they're gonna have to hope that somebody else takes care of Limerick. But we've seen this before, where Tip have had kind of big losses and stuff as well, and Liam Sheedy kind of got them bouncing back as well from it. So yeah, I wouldn't write them off just yet. But look, that it must have been an absolute sickener for them at the weekend, just considering how good they were in the first half, and then I suppose kind of how out of their depth they were in the second.
Yeah, no, and I do agree with what you said. Like the 2019 All-Ireland, Tipperary won that All-Ireland off the back of Kilkenny knocking Limerick out in the semi-finals. So yeah, I do think that the same would have to apply this year. You know, if Tipperary were to win All-Ireland, I think Limerick have to be taken out in the other semi-final. And yeah, there's not many teams that I think could do that.
Yeah, well, just looking at that weekend, it's kind of hard to see that anybody in the entire competition is kind of on that level right now. So I don't know if Limerick can bring that level of performance again in other games they play this year. I don't think anyone gets close to them this year, and I think that was it was a really worrying kind of sight for the rest of the counties in like still competing in the competition, because it was just an awesome performance, I suppose.
Yeah, and I do think that the only team right now who could beat Limerick is Kilkenny, because, you know, the last time that they played in the championship, you know, Kilkenny did beat them. Obviously, you know, now going into this game, you know, Kilkenny have the aura of being the hurling county, the best hurling county in Ireland. And for this Limerick team, I feel like it would be a crowning achievement for them to, you know, get their hands on Kilkenny in an All-Ireland hurling final and beat them. And the way that the draw is set up this year, it looks like that could happen.
Yeah, well, look, I think Limerick haven't had an opportunity to kind of get payback on Kilkenny for that game. That's probably the last thing that's like on their list of things they have to do to confirm kind of their greatness, I suppose. So I think they'll be eager for that matchup at some stage. Like, still plenty of hurling to be played between now and then, though. Maybe like there are teams that like could potentially go for resurgence. Galway could come back to the team that we expect them to be. Clare might keep building momentum as well. So yeah, I think I do think that Limerick will be in the All-Ireland final, but who they're playing yet is probably just impossible to call right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it depends who Kilkenny get in the other side of the draw, but I think that Limerick will 100% be in the All-Ireland final because they're my pick to win the All-Ireland. Limerick are the Munster Hurling champions for 2021. That has been me and Luke's review of the game. Don't forget to take a look at all the other match reviews that we're doing of the weekend's action.